Hi, this is Byron Walker with another episode of the Turnaround Podcast. Today I'm going to be going through a list. It's a top 10 steps for a turnaround plan. And so, obviously, 10 steps, and I'll go through this. This is kind of the outline that I'm using to talk with friends and help them with their businesses after the COVID-19 and the economic situation that their individual businesses are facing. So this is a great outline, not only for me to walk through with someone, but for you to take through your own company. And then I'd highly encourage you to talk through this list with a friend too, because it's much more powerful when there's two or three or 10 minds behind this than just one. This list will be available on the show notes, or just shoot me a message and I'll send it over, because it does help to have the list in front of you. So let's dive in. Step one comes under the heading of finances and forecasting. So what is your current cash position? So number one is on cash. And more importantly, what is the length of your cash runway? Okay, how long can you go in the current situation before you run out of cash? And if your revenues have come down, profits come down, then obviously there's a runway where you will crash at the end. It's not business as usual. Okay, so how long is that? Is it 2 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 2 weeks? You need to know this number. It's very, very important. Now, creating a rough cash flow forecast is what's needed, and that can be challenging. It's challenging at any point in time, but it's something you have to do now. And like any forecast, you will suck at doing it at the beginning. But you get better every week, every month. You get better at this. And even if you're not accurate, having this is so important. For me, it was like a sleeping pill, really, because when I was going through my downturn, I wasn't sure if I'd make it out of this. I honestly thought I'd lose the business several times. But even though I didn't know what the future held, I knew I'd be in business for 3 weeks. I knew I'd have enough cash to last me the next 3 weeks. And that helped me sleep. That helped me go to bed and like, okay, I can put this away and go to sleep, work on turning the business around tomorrow, because I knew I had a little time. I knew I had breathing room. The worst fear is not knowing when the hammer's going to drop. And before I built the cash flow forecast, which, by the way, I built and started during my downturn. Okay, I didn't have one before. Um, but until I had that, I didn't know if I just walk into the office the next day and my accountant would run up to me and freaking out and tell me it's over, right? So this really helps your mental state as well. And just know that if you can get it pretty clear, like clear vision into your cash flow forecast for the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're golden. It will get fuzzier after that. And obviously 2 or 3 months, it gets really fuzzy. And that's fine. You just want clarity on the first 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so number one is cash. What's your cash position? What's your runway? Number two, which is also under finances and forecasting, is how can you improve that cash position? Okay. Now, obviously, there's some stimulus things going on with the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, grants. And so I'm not going to go into that here, but there's obviously some things there that can help with the cash in the bank. And then you can also look at your accounts receivable and payable. So the whole idea is to speed up your accounts receivable so you get that money in faster and slow down your accounts payable so that you can have more terms. And so between those two, you can definitely buy some very, very valuable time. I will say this, I think the owner, that is you, hopefully, is the one that calls and does these negotiations, okay? Both accounts receivable and possibly payable. It just depends on the structure of your company. But especially the big accounts receivable, you need to be the one on the phone. If it's 10, 20 grand, that's your money. You need that money. Okay. And remember, you can negotiate deals too. Maybe the accounts receivable isn't due for another month or two or whatever. You can still make that phone call and try to get the cash in the door now and discount it. And I would rather, it depends on the situation, obviously, but if I'm hurting for cash, I'd rather have that money today and take a discount than get full payment later, which in an economic downturn, you may not get. In 2 months, they may be hurting, okay, worse than they are now. So get that money in the door. Obviously, there's debt, lines of credit. Again, this is cash. Now, remember, cash is not profit. Okay, totally different things. So bringing in some debt where it makes sense, and then the last one, liquidation sales. If you're selling physical products, you've got cash sitting on the shelves that you need to get into the bank. Okay, you don't want the cash on the shelf; you want it in the bank. And so the way to do that is to sell it. Now, a couple thoughts on here. When I was going through my downturn, we sell physical products. We went from a huge SKU count down from about 550, huge for us, different products down to 170. Okay. Well, what that meant was all those products that we decided to cut off, we could sell at liquidated prices or just get them out the door fast. Okay. And I didn't have to buy them again. So the cash I'd sell them, but I wouldn't have to bring the cash back in to buy more inventory because we're getting rid of them. Okay. So this is cash, and we would sell them for a loss. Again, it's not about profits. This is about cash, but that's how we were able to float some pretty heavy losses for over a year. And so we'd see losses of 50 grand or 75 grand or whatever a month, scary as shit. But we still had money in the bank. We still had cash in the bank. It was because we were selling that old inventory. Okay. There's other ways, but how can you improve your cash position? Number two. Then number three also falls under finances and forecasting. Number three is analyze the last 3 months of your P&L, then forecast the next 3 months. Okay. This is, again, not easy. Okay. Anytime you're forecasting, you're going to be wrong, guaranteed to be wrong. So it's not about accurate. Well, it's about trying to be accurate, but it's less about accuracy and more about just getting it done and forecasting what it might look like. If your P&L is some huge monster of a document, cut it down, okay? Get it into like 5 or 10 different, probably like 10 different bullet points of your P&L, profit, and the expenses, or revenue, expenses, and then look at your profit and loss. If you can simplify it, it might be easier for you to work through it. Just throw all your G&A, for example, into one account. But whatever it takes, simplify it, get your head around it, and then that's the last 3 months, and then forecast going forward. Okay. Now here's where the turnaround comes. How you forecast, and again, it's difficult, but how you do it is so important, because you can take your current revenue, okay, with, your current cost structure with X revenue. So let's say the economic situation is you're forecasting you might have half as much revenue as you did before, okay? Or maybe it's 25% less, maybe it's 75% less, whatever it is, okay? You probably have a couple different scenarios in your head. Well, take one of those and put it into a P&L with your current cost structure, okay? They'll probably scare the crap out of you. But then you can do it again. So I had 30 or 40 or 50 different P&Ls sometimes. I would only manage 1 or 2, but I had all these scenarios so I could see what it would look like. Okay. So then take your costs and lower them, cut them in half, do some massive drastic cut. It doesn't mean you're going to do that, but at least you can see, okay, if I did this, okay, the nuclear, version of it, then this is what the P&L looks like with that lower revenue. Okay. And again, it can be in stages. In stage 1, stage 2, or 3, I'm going to cut costs further and further. And you can also play around with the revenue coming in. Maybe you show a lower revenue just to be conservative. Okay. And then lastly, you can forecast these P&Ls based on your turnaround ideas. Well, what if I did increase the margins? Okay. What if I did remove a department or cut costs a major way? What if you change your business? What if you got more efficient? These are all things you can flow into your P&L and see what it looks like. And you basically keep doing this until you find a way out. Okay. Once you can see a P&L that you think is conservative, it gets you to break even or profitability. There you go. Right. And then you start making action plans around that. That really is what the turnaround's about. All right, number 4, reduce expenses. Well, obviously you gotta reduce expenses if your revenue is lower. So what I suggest is taking all of your expenses, put them onto a spreadsheet, Again, not an easy project, but it's needed. And then color code them. Okay, red, yellow, green. So reds are the ones that you can cut right away and you need to cut, or even that you have cut maybe last week or last month. Go ahead and put it on there. It looks good that you've already cut some. So that's a red, put it on there. Then you have yellow. Yellow is you're not sure yet. Okay, and then green is these are the essential to the do business costs and expenses that you feel that you must keep. Okay. Then you've got this list. Start cutting those reds and cut them right now, because it takes a month or two for the cycle to kind of come back in and for you to see that on your bottom line. Sometimes, it just takes a couple months. It's not like you pick up the phone today and you start saving today. So do it now, and you'll start to see those cost savings in the next month or two. Okay. And then I want you to go look at the yellows and find a way to put them into red. Okay. And one way I always did it was like software. Okay. We're like, well, we don't want to cut it, so it's yellow. But my question is could we go without it for 30 days or 60 days? Okay. And usually the answer is reluctantly yes. It's like, yeah, it gives us some good data. The software is great. It saves time, whatever. But yeah, we could live without it for 60 days. And so we would cut it and then bring it back in 60 days. We often did not bring it back, by the way. But the point is if you can pause something, that might help you cut a cost. It might help your staff cut the cost or be accepting of the cost-cutting measures. Right. And then the green, even look at those. Are you sure they have to be green? Could they be yellow? Could they be red? Like for me, I said, well, I have to pay rent, right? I mean, you got to have an office and, ship out our products. So that's obviously a green. Well, not really. I finally got to the point where we had to let the fulfillment office go. And so we outsourced a 3PL. We went virtual. These are things that you can do. We were under contract, of course, for a rent, and we found a subtenant, and they moved in and took over. And so there's always a way. So really force yourself. Is it really green? What would it be in DEFCON 5 when shit's really hitting the fan? What is really green, yellow, and red at that point? Okay. And it sucks to cut costs. It really does. I get it. But if you can cut fast and cut deep, it's going to help you. Okay. Lean into it. Get these costs done fast and start reaping the rewards. A dollar cut here is way more value than a dollar extra in revenue. This is so important because if I cut a dollar from expense, I literally see an extra dollar on the profit or less of a loss. So literally 1-for-1 ratio. It's an amazing thing, right? But on revenue, that's not the case at all. I might raise the revenue by $1 and only see 20 or 30% to the bottom line, which is my margin. So this is the fastest way to get yourself to break even. All right, number 5. This is also under reducing expenses. And you're not going to like to hear this one, but it's needed. You need to make a list of all your employees, all of their annual costs, and then rank them. Okay. And how I would do it, I don't even like the term ranking, but put them in stages 1, 2, and 3. And what that means to me is stage 1 is people that, you would let go first. Okay. It would hurt, but you could do it and you'd find a way through it. Stage 2 is people that no way can you let them go. But if your back was against the wall, okay, maybe you could. And it would really hurt. It would damage a lot. It would hurt company culture, whatever else, right? All the things that are going through your head. It would suck, but we could make it happen if we really had to. Okay. And then 3 is and probably just 1 or 2 people. Depends on how bad you make this, but what's the bare bone? Absolutely cannot let this person go. We'll go out of business before we let this person go. Okay, that's that last one. And then be mindful of your PPP loan if you take that, because there's obviously some rules and regulations with that. You have to weigh the pros and cons with it. But anytime you can simplify your staff, simplify the business, the fewer the people you have, the more efficient you are forced to be. And you have to find simple ways of moving forward. Shrink the company, make it simple. This is what works in a turnaround, okay? Very difficult decisions in here, and I talk more about it in other podcasts. it sucks. I mean, there's no way around it. It was just gut wrenching for me to let people go. But if you need to let 5 people go so that you can keep, 7 people employed, you're going to have to come to those, you're going to have to go through that. All right, onward. Number 6, optimize revenue. So the first one here, create a rough P&L per channel over the last 3 months. Again, not an easy task, okay? But you can just rough it in. Don't look for perfection on this P&L or even others possibly, but this one for sure, don't worry about the accuracy on this one. You are going to totally rough in these numbers because you're going to have to. It's really hard to get this P&L built, okay? All right, so hopefully you have multiple sources of revenue, okay? Different revenue channels. If you don't, you probably skip this step. But if you do, and hopefully you do because it's healthier for your business, then you'll want to do this. The way you want to contribute, this is not gross margin. This is net profit based on the revenue channel. And you want to put as much overhead into that particular, if you've got A, B, and C revenue channels, for A, you want to put as many overhead items in there as makes sense. Okay, but I wouldn't take like rent and divide it by 3. I just don't think that can fit in there. But if there's a cost, here's kind of the acid test. If you cut that revenue source away, like you dropped it completely, eliminated it from your company, would a certain cost be able to go away? Or at least be reduced by whatever, 80%, 90%, okay? If it would go away or be greatly reduced, if you cut the revenue source, then you need to tie that expense to that revenue channel, okay? There's a lot more I can talk about here. There's different types of revenue channels, but go with that, see where you get. The point is, here's the biggest thing. So we did that, and we found out one of our revenue sources, one of the larger ones, and the revenue source that we were trying to push during the downturn and try to get traction on was actually break even for us. And as we dug into it, it was actually losing money. So imagine that. The more we pushed on a certain revenue source and the more successful we were, the more money we lost, okay? Yeah, when I found that out, I was pissed. But it was good to realize and good to see as we dug into the numbers. And so we cut out over $1 million in revenue on purpose, okay, self-inflicted revenue crasher, just for the point of getting rid of that loss. Best thing we could have done. Okay, it simplified the business. It made the IT department easier. It made the marketing easier. It went on and on how much simpler my business got by getting rid of that revenue source. So that's why you want to run through that. And then also, once you find the good ones, because you're going to have however many, 3 or 4, and there's going to be one that's the winner, the one that has the highest margin, the one that's contributing the most to the contribution margin. That's the one. Then you want to see if you can optimize it. Okay. Is there anything that you can do to optimize the marketing for it and, make it more profitable? Is there anything you can do to the product? Can you remove features that people don't want? Can you go to your vendor and get better terms? There's a bunch of stuff you can do to optimize, but optimize your best one. Okay. And then try to scale that and get some traction on that with additional sales. All right. Number 7. Number 7, analyze current product mix. And this can be for physical products or services. Analyze each product and determine its gross margin, okay? So that's without any marketing, anything. This is just product talk here. No overhead, nothing. How much did the widget cost you? Some people add in some shipping into the warehouse. We do. And then that's, and then what do you sell it for? Okay. And that's your gross margin. All right. So analyze the entire product mix and then focus on that 20%. Okay. There's the 80-20 rule. And so you want to start focusing on that 20% and how you can make it better. Okay. I will say when I was going through my downturn, again, physical products, and I told you I went from 550 products or SKUs down to 170 SKUs, okay? Well, what that did is now we were focusing on, well, the 170 products were, first of all, our highest margin products. They were the top selling products, okay? And they were probably the most simple products too, because we're getting them all from just one or two vendors. So it simplified the business as well, because I didn't have to buy as many products, okay? By doing that, we increased our gross margin by 50%. That's amazing, okay? Now, you may not hit that number, it doesn't really matter, but just imagine that. So simplifying the business by going down to the smaller SKU count was one of the main things we did for our turnaround. That was huge for us, okay? You can also do it for services. Each one of your services, assuming you have more than one, has different margins based on labor hours, resources. Again, how complicated is it, okay? So really look at that. And then once you get all that data or kind of looking at it, simplify it, okay? You can always bring the product back later. You can always bring that service back at later once you get your feet on the ground, okay? You need to simplify your business, so cut away the stuff that's not working as well. Okay, you could be cutting away profits, but if the profit margin is so small there and so large somewhere else, where should you be focusing, right? All right. Number 8, analyze current marketing, the messaging, and the sales flow. Okay. First of all, I'm a firm believer, do not turn off marketing. Okay. You can cut it, but don't turn it off. You've got to keep marketing. You've got to keep selling. You just have to do it in a smarter, more efficient manner. Okay. Within any marketing budget, there's always a core that's working really, really well. Okay. But it doesn't bring as many customers in, but it's working really well. And then the further you go out from that core, the less effective the marketing becomes. It becomes more expensive, the conversion rates are lower, whatever's going on, but you're getting more buyers. And that makes sense. So in fact, we actually go so far, we lose money. We'll actually go negative just so we can bring in more and more buyers, okay? But during a downturn, all that changes, okay? So what's working, what this big marketing budget that you have, I don't know if it's big, but what you need to do is trim it down till you start getting to the marketing side that's super profitable. Okay, that's usually in retargeting, quite often in Facebook, because Facebook has a dial that you basically, you can go wide and bring in more buyers, but you're gonna not make as much money or start losing money, or you can bring it back down. You can upload your list, okay, and just market to them. That always works. So there's some low-hanging fruit in the marketing. That's what you should focus on. You don't have to cut all the way down to it, but you might have to. It's just something that you have to look at. But don't turn it off. You've got to have something else going out there. And again, you can always just pause what you're doing. Okay, so if that helps you get over the hurdle of cutting something that's really cool in your company, just 90 days, 60 days, whatever, cut it just temporarily and then bring it back. Of course, in 60 or 90 days, you'll see what's going on in the market and you'll make that decision then. And if it makes sense, you will bring it back. If it doesn't make sense, maybe you won't. Okay. Either way, it's cut now. Step 9. All right. Brainstorming. Okay. This is the fun part. And something you've got to really dive into and lean into this a lot. Brainstorm 50 different revenue boosting ideas. Okay. And you can do this for any part of your company too. But this can be new revenue or optimizing old revenue, new products, optimizing old products, whatever it is, okay? And so why 50? That's too many, right? Perfect, okay? It could be 20, but the point is the last half of your list should be almost stupid, okay? So you'll list out all the obvious ideas, then the not so obvious ideas, and then you'll be stuck. I don't know, I'm done. Why'd Byron say 50? This is so stupid. And then you do another 10 and now you're at 30. And then you get stuck and then your brain just starts writing stupid shit, right? Just go do whatever. Get to the 50, okay? The point is some of your best ideas might come at the end of that 50 list because your brain's just searching for just whatever the hell you can think of, okay? And then maybe it isn't just one idea from that list that makes the difference and allows you to turn around the business and get back to profitability. In fact, one idea might not even be a good idea or work, but what if you combined it with a different idea and then a third, and now maybe it works, okay? So don't just look at each idea think of how you can combine them and how there could be synergy there and connect the dots. Okay, see the big picture. Um, you can have a few drinks when you're doing this. Okay, it helps. Have some fun with it, and then the next day, okay, talk with some friends, review the list, pick a few ideas, and figure out how you can test them quickly, inexpensively, how you could do more research, get movement on these new ideas. Okay, a lot of a downturn and turnaround is shrinking the company and just, it hurts in every direction. So have this outlet. Even if you don't pull the trigger on any of these revenue boosting ideas, at least your brain is moving in a positive direction of growth. Okay, so do this exercise. It's very important. And talk about what you put on the list with other people. Collect their ideas, okay? One last point. Try not to be more than one step removed. Now you can break this rule. Hey, you can break all my rules, right? And still make them work. But generally speaking, you want to stay close to what you're already doing. If you go too far away, you're 2 or 3 steps removed from the core of your business, it gets more difficult, okay? And more difficult to market. You don't know the ins and outs of the industry. You don't know the people. Your gut doesn't know which way to look. Your knowledge is lower as you move away from the core of what you're doing. Okay. And so it just makes it harder. Obviously, you can still do it. Obviously, you can be successful in it. That's how you started your business, with zero knowledge. Okay. But it's harder. So if we're in a recession, we're plowing through all these difficult times, sometimes you want to take the easier path. Okay. Please throw that advice out the door and stomp on it. Okay. If this doesn't make sense for you, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who invent brand new things, new industries, and it's not within what they're doing. That's awesome. I'm just saying it's harder. So make sure that you try to stay within one step removed. All right. Number 10, brainstorm. All right. So it's actually the turnaround plan. So step 10 is really formulating this plan. Okay. And so a part of that's all the brainstorming ideas, flushing everything out, talking about your top ideas, coming out with a roadmap on how the hell you're going to get out of this mess, right? What are you going to do to simplify the business? How are you going to find efficiencies? What does your P&L forecast looks like? Like I said, to me, the whole thing about the turnaround plan is just building a P&L forecast that is something you can accomplish, and it gets you to break even. Boom, there it is. Okay. You just need to see those scenarios. So the turnaround plan is a lot of forecasting. And then once you find that, and you should have a couple plans, because it's never the same plan that you start with that you end with. But forecast those out. Another one, play defense. Okay. Predict issues coming up. Okay. There's going to be a chapter in the book I'm writing on the turnaround, and it's when you get kicked, or I forget what it is. You get kicked when you're down, over and over and over. And you do. All kinds of shit comes out of the woodworks when this stuff happens. It sucks. So predict these issues coming up, what vendors might not pay you, what could happen to your supply line, what could happen to your employees and their health. Play defense. What could happen with your company in the media? How could they spin something? Whatever, play defense. Also, watch out for fraud. There's a ton of fraud during downturns. Go figure, right? There's less money and fraudsters are hitting it harder. But it makes sense because you're desperate, you're scared, you make quick decisions, you don't look into stuff, whatever. Just be careful of fraud. We got hit with fraud several times during my downturn. Go figure. It's just like insult to injury. It sucks, but watch out for that stuff. All right. And then your mindset. Okay. You got to take care of yourself. This is not easy to go through. It's really hard. So, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to cry. It's okay, but you got to pick yourself up and you got to make this happen. You are the leader of your company, and people are looking up to you to navigate through this downturn. So you need to step up and make it happen. Okay. And so that means taking care of yourself, whether that's working out, meditating, talking with friends, talking with family. Okay. Get it out of your head. Okay. You don't need to carry this run just by yourself. Okay. Create a turnaround plan and execute it. Then pivot like hell along the way, because it never stays the same. But create that turnaround plan and get out there and make it happen. Okay. When this is all said and done, you're going to have fewer competitors. Okay. and you want to make sure you're on the right side of the fence, okay, and that you're still in business. And now, as the market returns, all that market share now goes to fewer people. And you're able to capitalize on that and grow your market share, become a better company. You'll be more efficient. You'll be more profitable through this downturn. Okay. Downturns are very healthy for companies. It sucks when you're going through it, but it's very healthy for your company. And for me, it was the best thing that could have happened to my company. Best thing that could have happened to me. Okay. It made my company more profitable. We tripled the net income as a percentage. Super efficient. Okay. It's a better place. Company culture is better. I mean, all around the company is way better. And that's where you'll get. Okay. I'll leave you with this last quote that really helped me through my downturn. And that is, bad things don't happen to me. Okay. Bad things happen for me. They happen for me to get smarter, to get better, to be a better business person, to be more patient, to be wiser, to have better gut reaction, to know what a recession is like, to have a recession-proof business. I can go on and on. This will help you in the long run. Really hard to see right now, but it will. And so look for what's good in this, and you'll find it. I'll make sure I get this top 10 list up on the show notes. And or if you can't find that, just shoot me an email or message me, and I'll take care of you. All right, take care.